Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Cookin' with Hova. Today we're doing a pork shoulder, and as you can see, I started with a brine. I had never tried this method before, but I did some onions, apple cider vinegar, salt, spices to taste, and I soaked that overnight in the refrigerator. The next day I got the pork shoulder out, and I applied one of my favorite seasonings that is pretty much a staple on everything I cook, Flavor God's Garlic Lovers. I did a layer of this delicious stuff all over. You can see that brine really soaked in and did a good job the day before. So I'm just getting a nice healthy layer of Flavor God all over it. And then I've got this Casey style rub, and there's a funny story with this rub. This pork shoulder turned out really, really good, and I loved it, and I really liked how this pork rub tasted. And I looked up the company because I was like, I had a feeling. I was like, I'm pretty sure I got this at like a farmer's market or a fair like years ago. Turns out I was right. This business closed in like 2019. It was just an old thing of rub that was in my spice cabinet. I knew I needed to get it used up. I was going to buy more, and I can't. So I have some Meat Church rubs coming in the mail. But I wanted to ask you guys, what are some rubs that you guys enjoy for pork, briskets, chicken, fish, whatever? Let me know in the replies, in the comments, if there's any rubs that you swear by. But I do have like the Ocho pack from Meat Church on the way. Look at that nice tight shot. This is what meat looks like when you're done rubbing it. Some people put the spice on there and they rub it as hard as they can, literally, where they just rub all the rub off. All you got to do is get it on there, pat dry your meat first with a paper towel, kind of press the rub into the meat is how I do it. You don't really need to rub at all. That's how I like to do it anyways. I got it on the Traeger, fat cap up with the meat thermometer pushed in. Make sure the meat thermometer is not on the bone. Traeger's set to 225. Now you'll see here, this is one of the first times I opened it. I probably waited a good 2 hours. This is an 8-pound pork shoulder with the bone in. It's going to take about 16 hours, but it all depends on what temps you cook it at and everything. I've got it at 225, and I'm going to open it up every couple hours or so and spray it down with a mixture of Dr. Pepper and apple cider vinegar. So I know a lot of you have probably already heard of apple cider vinegar. It's it's a thing that a lot of people like to use when they're smoking meats. And I grew up helping out a family in my school that did like a catering service. We would go to fairs and stuff, and he would barbecue for these events. And I remember he would cook everything with barbecue or with Dr. Pepper, and it's always ingrained in my mind. So this spray bottle, like I said, Dr. Pepper and apple cider vinegar. You can get creative. I've used all kinds of different stuff. You know, like I live 20 minutes from the grocery store, so whatever's in the fridge that I can use to spray every once in a while, you know, just play around with it. That's the fun of barbecuing and smoking especially. So here you can see the finished product. Like I think it took about 15, 16 hours, something like that. I kept it at 225. It did stall out at like 120, 130 degrees at one point for like over an hour, so I was a little worried. I cranked it up to 250 for a little while, which is kind of like the thing you don't want to do, but I was being impatient. I wanted to make sure I had this done for my 4th of July celebration. So this, I wrapped it in foil. I would leave it sit for at least 30 minutes, probably an hour, just to like really give a chance to all those juices to kind of soak back into the meat. I stuck this one just in the microwave, wrapped in foil overnight, because I didn't need it until the next day. So you're going to see here, the meat's not cold, but it's not like hot either. So it's not going to fall right off the bone, but it still basically came right off the bone. And you can see that beautiful color, that beautiful bark, juicy all the way throughout. Keep in mind, I believe the USDA standard for pork is like 160, 165, might be a little bit lower, but rule of thumb, you can get it to, I looked at some recipes that say you take a pork shoulder when you're smoking it to just like 165-ish, and I saw some that say you want to bring it up to like 202. So I tried to get it a little bit higher. I think I got mine a little closer to like 200. I think one of the problems is that everybody's so intimidating by smoking meat and barbecuing and stuff like this. It's just fun. Play around with it. I don't really know what I'm doing, and look at this pulled pork. It came out fantastic. It looked professional. It tasted amazing. It took me a long time to sit here and pull all of this apart. I know they sell those claws and stuff, but I like the idea of just getting in there by hand, really getting into it. You know, the hardest part is just resisting eating it all when you know that you have people to feed the next day. So I sat here, I pulled all of this off the bone, and I kind of spread it out over this sheet pan, and then I sprinkled a little bit more of that rub over the top of it. And then when I needed to reheat it the next day, I put it in one of those aluminum cooking pans, the disposable ones. And I think I tossed a little bit more of the apple cider Dr. Pepper, apple cider vinegar Dr. Pepper mixture, kind of just in the bottom of the pan. You don't want to drench it, but just enough in the bottom that when I threw it back on the Traeger to warm it up the next day, it's going to stay loosey-goosey. You know what I'm saying? Those moistures are going to stay in the meat, cover it up, let that juice seep back in there. Look at all that meat. It's crazy. These I got on these were just in my freezer, but it had to have been a sale. These this was a 8-pound, like I said, pork shoulder, and I think it was like $15. And it just kind of blows your mind. You know, you go to McDonald's and spend $15, you're gonna feed 2 people. Maybe. It's pretty tight these days if you're going to feed 2 people on $15 anywhere, even if it is fast food. Look at all this meat. I mean, a Traeger is a bit of an investment. It's like an $800 grill. $600. I think I got it for $6 or $7. I can't remember. But they're amazing. You don't have to worry about propane. You don't have to worry about charcoal. All you got to do is order your little pellets, keep it cleaned, and you can make this much meat for your family for $15? Are you kidding me? The thing is the time. Like I said, it's you know, it took me about a day to thaw it out of my freezer, and then I trimmed it up just a little bit to make sure there wasn't huge chunks of fat on it. Soaked it in the brine. Like I said, sugar, salt, a little bit of apple cider vinegar, spices to taste. I think I put Flavor God in that. Just, you know, whatever you're feeling in your brine. It's not too big of a deal as long as there's a lot of salt. And then you soak it in that brine overnight. Next day, pull that thing out, pat it dry, rub it down, let it sit, let it get close to room temperature before you throw it on the smoker. Let those rub spices, you know, kind of soak in the meat a little bit better. Throw it on your Traeger, 225. You're going to want to get it to at least like a 165 or closer to 200. Pull it off, wrap it in foil. Let it sit in that foil. Just pop it in the microwave if it'll fit, wrapped in that foil. That way it'll keep the heat. It won't lose too much of it. Let it sit for like an hour. Pull that thing apart. Get yourself some good buns. Have some friends over. You're looking at a good time. Look at that right there. Cooking with Hova, episode 1, the pork shoulder. What do you want to see next? Let me know.